Hello, Hi everyone, welcome back to Learn English with me. So in this video, which is totally unscripted, I really wanted to share some things that you need to know if you're interested in pursuing academia, especially in the field of teaching English as a foreign language, especially in higher education in Japan. Why am I qualified to talk about this topic, you may ask? Well, my credentials are I've been working as an assistant professor in Japan for over 7 years now, so I think I have some knowledge about this topic. So ကျွန်မဒီနေ့ပြပြချင်တဲ့အကြောင်းအရာပေါ့နော်ဘာမှ prepare လုပ်ထားတာတော့မဟုတ်ဘူးဒါပေမဲ့လို့အကယ်၍ပေါ့နော်ဒီပညာရေးအပိုင်းမှာ higher education English စာသင်ချင်တယ် English စာကိုပေါ့နော် foreign language အနေနဲ့သင်ချင်တဲ့သူတွေအတွက်ပေါ့နော်မြန်မာပြည်နေပြီးတော့ဂျပန်မှာအထူးသဖြင့်ပေါ့နော် higher education မှာသင်ချင်တယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ဘာလေးတွေသိသင့်လဲဆိုတော့ပြပြပေးချင်ပါတယ်ရှင် so first of all what kind of degrees do you need? Well, you do need to have a specific relevant degree. You should either have a master's at the very least, a master's degree in linguistics or TESOL, or English language and literature, or comparative education, but preferably TESOL because if you're in the field of teaching English as a foreign language, then they're going to look for that particular degree, especially for people who come from countries like ours, non-native English speaking countries as they call it. They really would look for specific degrees and they would like you to have relevant experience, especially in higher education. So about 3 years or 4 years of experience is something that is is necessary. That is like a basic requirement. So that's the credential part. You may ask if they accept other type of degrees. Yes, they do, of course. Would love to have people who have doctorates in linguistics or in education or education management, like at D, if you have, they're also acceptable. But other certificates like TESOL or Cert TESOL or Trinity, TESOL type of things, Delta, CELTA, those are not really very useful. I mean, they do acknowledge them, but they don't really acknowledge them as a viable degree, even though like the Delta certificate or the TESOL certificate might say that this is a graduate level credential in the UK. They don't really like go for it. They prefer to have a 2-year degree, and if you graduated from the UK like I did, they would ask for you to verify that the program that you've joined is actually a proper master's program, because UK master's programs are only a year, while the US training programs are about 2 years long. So they do prefer or they're more familiar, I should say, they're more familiar with the American education system, so they would want you to verify. And if you can't verify that, or if you can't I guess show proof of your credentials, that your credentials are from a proper from a proper institution, then it could be tricky. But let's assume that you have all of those, then you're ready with the first requirement. The second requirement, of course, is the job experience, relevant experience. It can't be just any experience, it has to be relevant experience. Higher education experience, yes, especially in the international context. If you have taught Japanese students or international students in a English as a medium of teaching program, then that's like chef's kiss. That's what they want, and that's again like a basic requirement. There may be some exceptions, depending on who you know and whether your luck is in the stars, and you may be able to apply for a job without job experience as well. But let's assume that we're looking at a pathway very common for all the people or most people who end up in Japan, you do need the relevant work experience. Not just any work experience, it has to be relevant. So those are the first two things that you need to gather if you are interested in pursuing higher education career in Japan. So the third requirement is also, again, has become extremely competitive in the recent years. So when I started in Japan, they have like these different programs, and the program that I applied to didn't really require any publications. They were actually very happy to accept teachers who had the relevant work experience without the publications that they would hope for teachers to have. And then the minimum public number of publications is 3 for Japan. That's the basic requirement. You may have more, which will always work in your favor, but if you don't even have 3, then it would be problematic. And it also depends on the university that you're applying to, the program that you're applying to. Some universities are very specific about the kind of papers that you have. They sometimes want peer-reviewed journals, which is, as many of you may know, is extremely difficult to get accepted and get published in, and it takes a really long time. And like I said before, it has become extremely competitive to get yourself accepted and to get yourself published. So this is something that requires quite a long dedication. It requires a lot of planning. And you may ask, can we apply without any publications? Yes, of course. They may not reply to you. Do people get jobs without publications? Yes, they do. But as a brown person, as a person who do not hold any of the powerful English-speaking country passports, I would like to warn you that you do need the publications. Without the publications, it would be very difficult for you to get the job, get any kind of job really, especially for higher education, not for ALT positions, not for high school positions, but for university. You really do definitely need publications. And it's just, so many people have publications now, so many people have PhDs, and it's a very competitive job market here. So yes, you do need to have that number of publications, yes. And as I was saying before I digressed on my own topic, when I first arrived, it wasn't as competitive, it wasn't as important and crucial, I should say now, crucial for you to have publications. But now it's just crucial, like everybody has it, and the universities actually have an upper hand now, because there's just so many candidates. They can pick and choose the one they want, the candidate they want. So you gotta do everything you can to make yourself as attractive as possible for the jobs that you're applying for. So that's the hardest part, I guess. That's the biggest requirement that would take a long time to build. So that's somewhere that I think you should start if you're interested in a career in higher education, teaching English as a foreign language in Japan. And I guess with this video, it's like 8 minutes now already. Anyhow, I wanted to say, if you are interested and you're considering Japan, or maybe you're thinking of other countries, and you might ask yourself, why Japan? Is Japan a good choice? Well, with the Japanese economy and the Japanese yen being, really weak for years now, it's quite difficult. And I have to say, because it's been so weak, getting the salary, higher education salary, aren't that good. That's the truth. That's the honest truth. However, there are some things that are very, very important in Japan, and that is, you do get really good exposure, and you get a really good network of researchers. All the, many world-renowned professors work in Japan, and many are always in attendance at conferences, and many are very approachable too. And so it's a great place for making connections, building networks, and also, of course, if you are serious about publications and things like that, I think Japan is probably one of the best places in Asia to begin your career, or to if you're in the middle part of your career, this is a great place to be. And it's also a great place to be if you want to end your career in Japan as well. It's just a matter of whether you can adapt to this environment. Some people adapt to Japan really well, and some people find it extremely difficult to adapt to the Japanese nature, organizational nature, and just culture and things like that. So it's really up to you in that sense. For me, I'm not really negative or positive about it. I'm happy to be here for the time being, and I'm excited about getting to meet all these amazing professors all the time in different conferences, and I'm really happy to be just taking part in these activities, I guess. So for me, it's the right place to be at the moment. This is where I call home for the time being. So if a person like me who's living alone in Japan can make Japan, or consider Japan to be a temporary home, I think it is a great place. It would be a great place for so many people. And if you're interested in higher education jobs in Japan, for the English language teaching field, by the way, not for other fields, because I'm not familiar with that, with other subjects. You can leave a comment under this video, and I will try to answer. Sorry, I had to just switch off my heater. It was getting really hot. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to this really impromptu, unplanned video that I decided to make, because I am in the middle of doing something and I need a kind of a dopamine hit, and making videos and uploading them sometimes give me that little push to carry on with the other project that I'm doing. So anyway, thank you for watching. If you're still here, thank you so much, and share this video if you found it useful.